This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
The journey of the official independence flag began this week as it made its way to Inagua. It was part of the country's 40th independence anniversary celebrations. Inagua is the first island outside New Providence that has flown the official independence flag. The Independence Committee plans to take the flag to every island across the country in the run-up to Independence Day.
A special flag-raising ceremony was held at the Inagua Airport yesterday morning, where residents and a number of Independence Committee members gathered on the runway to watch the flag being hoisted. It spent about a minute in the air before being taken down. The flag has since gone to Long Island and will end up in West End, Grand Bahama on July 8th before being flown back to the capital. Minister of Grand Bahama and member of Pine Ridge, Dr. Michael Darville, in his contribution to the budget debate, announced that residents in Grand Bahama will receive some assistance following the damage left by flooding over the holiday weekend.
As outlined in our Charter of Governance, and many residents, including the elderly, the unemployed, the disabled, who sustained damage in Hurricane Sandy, will benefit from the NEMA roof repair program presently happening on Grand Bahama as I speak. It's available, my brother. Contact NEMA. Just this weekend on Grand Bahama, we experienced severe weather conditions with rains. As a result, many families throughout Grand Bahama experienced flooding, and reports are coming in from east to west Grand Bahama, as well as many of the low-lying areas in Freeport, of flood damage to homes and business places. Teams from both the Department of Social Services, Urban Renewal are on the ground as I speak assessing these damages. I am pleased to report that emergency funding will be allocated to my ministry to assist those affected by the severe weather patterns and the floodings over the holiday weekend.
In her contribution to the budget debate, member for South Beach Cleola Hamilton quoted Sir Lyndon Pindling as she referenced national service. Hamilton said considering the rate of crime, the country could use such a program.
We as a country has not reconsidered national service. Mr. Speaker, in his keynote address November 4th, 1994, Sir Lyndon Pindling said, and I quote, "I firmly believe that national service is the key to solving their manhood problems. That national service is the key to solving our crime. And that national service will eventually solve the unemployment problem."
Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Peter Turnquest, making his contribution, had several recommendations for the government on the Auditor General's office.
We note that the government is reducing the budget of the Auditor General by 12%. In a time when a new Financial Administration and Audit Act is to come into force, and more technical skills and staffing will be required, presumably. Additionally, a properly staffed and functioning audit department is essential to the detection and prevention of internal and external fraud, corruption, and waste. Mr. Speaker, I would beg the government to reconsider this head for a 10% increase so that it has the funding and resources to adequately fulfill its statutory mandate to the Bahamian people. When the Public Accounts Committee reports, I'm sure there will be some additional recommendations in this regard. And in order to effect the recommendations that will be made, additional funding may be necessary.
Member of Parliament for Mangrove Key and South Andros, Piceville Forbes, led off the debate, telling the House that while he supports the budget, there are several concerns from residents in his constituency. Among them, a doctor for South Andros and approval of a new development to boost the island's economy.
The same way we would have looked at the I group in Mayaguana in McAllen and gave them an opportunity. All I'm saying to my government, give the Solar Verde group a chance to look at South Andros, whatever the conditions may be. Give them a chance to invest, because the chance of having real investment in South Andros is small. And therefore, I am saying to our people, and my government, pardon me, to look at this group. And we must say that we should give our people in the community of South Andros a chance by allowing this company to be approved.
Member for South Abaco and former BAIC Chairman Edison Key has been a big proponent of food security in the country for years.
During his contribution to the budget debate Monday night, Mr. Key said that he supports the government's move to create an agricultural school.
Mr. Key added that the Bahamas has the capacity to become a large exporter in the agricultural industry.
There is more than enough arable land in the Bahamas to feed not only our entire population, but also our visitors while they are in our country. Yes. This was not always the case, Mr. Deputy, but there has been great technological and scientific advances in the science of farming. Mr. Deputy, you can now grow almost anything, almost anywhere. But, Mr. Deputy, even without all of the scientific knowledge, we have our own very best farming asset just off the west coast of Nassau. Mr. Deputy, Andros has explosive potential. It is the island that represents our country's absolute best choice for food security. Mr. Deputy, I was pleased to see plans in this year's budget for a School of Agriculture in North Andros.
Member for Bamboo Town, Renwood Wells, in contributing to the budget debate, expressed the great need for Family Islands to have their own sporting facilities.
He explained that the government's plan to develop these facilities nationwide is crucial to overall growth.
Mr. Wells told the story of growing up in the Family Islands with a desire for sports, but with no resources to facilitate him.
In the Family Islands, to be able to assist young people, Mr. Speaker, to help develop those kinds of talents. And Mr. Speaker, you had the Minister for Youth and Sports, the member for Carmichael, speak to that issue of what it means, the kind of advertisement that can happen. You know, Mr. Speaker, I grew up in Drakesville, South Andros. I left Deadman's Key, Long Island as a 2-year-old.
You ain't from Long Island.
And ended up in South Andros. So I consider myself more of an Andros man.
That's right.
And there, running bare feet, climbing coconut trees, I always said that was the impetus, Mr. Speaker, that allowed me to be able to go to two Olympic Games, 1996 and 2000. I was captain of both Olympic teams.
Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson has suggested that non-jury trials be held in some of the cases before the courts. It was one of her suggestions detailed in her presentation to the Constitutional Commission. Mrs. Maynard Gibson said it was former Chief Justice Sir Burton Hall who raised the suggestion before the Commission earlier in the year, and it's something she too endorses.
It's my humble view that our criminal justice system would be served better by constitutional provision for clearly defined circumstances where criminal matters may be tried by judges alone. However, because the right to a jury trial is enshrined in the Constitution and is entrenched, there would have to be an amendment and a referendum on the matter.
Now, the AG said where there is a possibility of witness or jury tampering, it is something where the instance of trial by judge could be applied. It's something, she said, where the time has come for this to be applied. She also gave her view on whether the Privy Council should be retained.
That I do support the retention of the Privy Council as a final court of appeal. They have interpreted the laws of the Bahamas quite well for quite some time. Our founding fathers felt that it was a good court to do so. Just because we may not agree with the way that they deliberate or their decisions, I don't think is a good reason to get rid of a court. Otherwise, we'd be getting rid of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal too, because they too give judgments that we don't agree with. That's just the way that it is. But so long as everybody understands the process, which is transparent and fair, that's what's important.
Coming up in sports, coaches talk about the latest team to represent the country.
And Family Islanders react to some good news on the sports front. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jun11th Swain. Fidelity Bank Bahamas is reporting that its $10 million bond offering was fully subscribed. The bond offering closed last Friday. A portion of the $10 million proceeds were used to pay Fidelity Bank's existing Series C notes that mature to their 5-year point. PTC is set to roll out 12 new franchise stores in New Providence by the end of the year. To accomplish that feat, the company intends to invest about $3 million. So far, 14 suitable sites have been identified for the capital. Overall, the company is looking to have 40 Bahamian-owned franchise stores for the country. PTC recently opened its newest franchise store in the Prince Charles Shopping Plaza. And admittedly, some persons have fallen asleep on the job, but was it $1 million error? Well, in news out of Germany, a snoozing clerk who fell asleep on his keyboard accidentally transferred 220 million euros, or about 293 million, instead of 6240 euros that should have been transferred. The recipient, a pensioner, was not a millionaire from the error, as it was later rectified. However, Germany's labor court ruled that the banker's colleague be rehired after being fired because the transfer went through without proper checks for verification in place. That was your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jun11th Swain.